John Wetmore in the house. Let's go.
What's up, dude? Happy to be in your house, Jim Morris.
Let's go, man.
That's good.
Excited to chat today, brother. I've been looking forward to this. Talking leadership, talking the upcoming conference, what you've been up to, sharing with the folks in the community, how you've built your business and have learned some lessons and shared some lessons. And maybe we'll even give a little teaser of what you're rocking with next month at Impact Effect 24. So
we can talk about it all, dude. I'm an open book. So let's rip.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I've talked to so many people. You've read so many books, podcasts, right? This word leadership is, kind of all over the place, right? What does it mean to you? What is true leadership? How do you define it, John?
Yeah, I think I've learned from mentors everything I've learned about this. So nothing that I'm probably going to say is anything new. I certainly didn't create anything, but probably the biggest principle, if you will, that one of my mentors taught me is leadership is taken, not given. And I think as I've tried to scale this business, dude, early on, I used to try to give people leadership roles. I used to try to like bonk them on the head and be like, that's my next guy. You're my next guy, Jim. You're my guy. Let's go. And you really internally, maybe verbally have interest, but internally you aren't doing anything that shows any leadership qualities whatsoever. You know what I mean? And I've learned, man, I can't make a leader. That's not what I do. My role is to identify people who have natural leadership capabilities in some form or fashion. You know what I mean? They don't have to be like running a massive company or, you know what I mean? They don't have to be that guy, but just they take it. And I can look at it as something so simple, dude. Like when we do events, right? I have people at my office, and when people come in, they bring their drinks and their coffee and their Gatorades and their chips. And I got to write stuff on the whiteboard, and the chairs are there and organized. And when the event's over, the chairs are all disorganized. The chip bags are on the floor. You know what I mean? Like the whiteboard's still like, and always, dude, someone will stay behind and like help clean it up. Most people won't. You know what I mean? I'm like, ooh, they're different. You know what I mean? And I'm always just trying to identify things that make people different than the rest. And that's a stupid example, but it's not really. You know what I mean? Because I could certainly ask people to help with stuff. And that happens in all lines of business. If I'm doing some type of big event, there's some people who naturally come in and help organize it with me, knowing it takes a lot of time, energy, effort, and money. The first time my mentor not the first time, one of the early times my mentor put on an event, it cost him money, but it was a free event for people. It's not a paid event. But I could recruit agents and I could send them there and they could learn for the day. You know what I mean? And I wasn't confused that when he booked a hotel room and had audio there and had lunch and coffee and snacks and all the stuff, I wasn't confused that cost him money. So I wrote him a check. I gave him $1,000 and I brought him a check to the day of the event. I'm like, hey, here you go, bro. He looked at me, he's like, what's this for? I'm like, dude, this wasn't free and you're training my agents. And he goes, in all my years, dude, not one person's ever brought me a check. You know what I mean? But because of that, he looked at me differently. He saw me taking leadership actions on my own, and then he started pouring into me more. And that was early in my career, dude. And he just started giving to me more because I showed, which I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't sit down and go, how can I be different? And I didn't, it was a natural tendency for me. And so for me, dude, it's me being a leader in my world, me leading by example, me going out and doing things. You and I just talked offline. I have 12 calls today. I have 2 podcasts scheduled that I'm hosting. I'm doing one. You know what I mean? Like I'm leading by example in my world. I shared my travel schedule this morning with a bunch of people. I have like 12 trips in the next 10 weeks for speaking and training. And there's 2 that are personal trips, but I have a lot going. So I stay doing stuff in my world that shows I'm leading the way. I'm not sitting around waiting for other people to run my company for me.
Yep. And
then I look at people who have similar tendencies or qualities and I go, hey, come here. I appreciate you doing that, dude. That helped a lot. Hey, what are you trying to accomplish? And then I can certainly help try to level them up or challenge them or push them or, you know what I mean? Things like that. But it's kind of, so for me, it means being one first. And then that's how I try to identify one as well.
Well, I
Just
think
little
you talk
things.
about such a great concept and such a real example that you just provided, right? Like
Mhm.
the staying after and doing the little things and taking charge and ownership. But what I'm hearing is someone stepping in their uniqueness, someone
Yeah.
stepping outside of the norm, right? Someone disrupting, creating
Yeah.
change,
Yeah.
interference, even in some cases,
Yeah.
right? Like
Mhm.
showing up and showing out in a way that is a bigger picture, larger scale.
Yeah. Just
Like
different than the
what you
norm.
did in that example, and exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've often heard around leadership is like that, creating that change, that influence, and having a following, whether it's good or bad in some
Yeah.
cases,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've learned, dude. It's crazy, man. Leading teams, bro. It's like, man, they love you sometimes and they definitely hate you others. It's wild.
Well, I think it's that deep
Yeah.
human connection that's a piece of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
do you love your closest family member 24/7, 365? Probably not. I
Definitely not.
mean, there's definitely situations that arise, especially if you're engaging and are at a level of high importance in their life, right? Like
Yeah.
you could say, "Oh no, my family is great, but I talk to them on Thanksgiving. We're in, we're out. See you later."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's not a high engaging human connection. It's not as deep when you're just seeing someone maybe once a year, right? So showing up
Sure.
in their life, similar to business, leadership, you're spending all that time, you're seeing those folks. There's got to be different perspectives, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's a great leadership quality to think about is those different perspectives and
Yeah.
giving people opportunity to breathe and share and be authentic and speak up and have opinions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this in your career. Like early on years ago, it was like, shut up and just do the work, right? And
100%.
that's a big piece of it. But
Yeah.
how do we do it where we're getting the most out of everybody and motivating them and
Yeah.
inspiring them? And I think you leading by example and starting with yourself is the biggest way to do that.
For sure. It's funny. A lot of the things I teach today, I remember when I taught the exact same principles and no one listened or cared. Because I didn't have the credibility yet. I hadn't done anything for myself. You know what I mean? I'm saying this stuff, but it was like, where's the track record, bro? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who have you helped? Who have you? And I'm like, man, I was always considered and still am pretty direct as a direct person. And people would, and this will go, I'll get into the leadership side of what I learned here. But like early on, man, people would get like really frustrated with me because I was really direct about the actions they needed to take, in my opinion, for them to need to win, you know?
Yep.
And one of the mistakes I made early on was the definition of winning was my definition I would put on you.
Yep.
I didn't
Yep.
find out what winning was to you and help you achieve what you wanted to achieve. You
You want to
know,
stay curious and instead
yeah,
just think everybody's in line with your success.
yes,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how different we
I've
all
been
are,
there.
and that's okay. Yeah, and it's like there's a combination of I read the book from Maxwell, The Five Levels of Leadership. You ever read it? John Maxwell, Five Levels of Leadership.
Yeah.
He gave me
Level
such a
one is what?
oh
Title leadership or authority leadership.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's your title. Like it's because you answered the phone is why I'm talking to you. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
literally your title. That's it. You're in charge because you have a title. You haven't done anything
Yeah.
for me. You haven't, you know what I mean? I don't remember the exact every level's name, but the concept I understand. And it changed the way I viewed people because I thought everyone viewed me the same based on where I was in my own head. But I could talk to someone
Yep.
today. It happens every day of my life. And they don't give a rip what I've done. I've done nothing for them. I've done nothing for their company. I've helped to make them no money. They don't know who I am from a hole in the wall. And I'm a level one to that person. I can be sitting in the same room with two different people and be a level one to one guy and a level five to the other guy in the same room
Yep.
with the same conversation. And Maxwell breaks it down. I'm not going to try to pretend I can break it down as well as he does, but they view me very differently. And if I'm only at a level one to someone, my words don't mean as much. So it's like, how do I up their view of me? I always thought leadership was like my view that I have to put on you. I never really thought to like flip it and see it from the other person's perspective, and it taught me a lot, dude, about communication with people, and learning to build trust with people and build a relationship with people and learn how to get to a point where I can be direct with them because they trust me more. I have a track record, or maybe someone else edifies me. You edify me, you can take me from a 1 to a 3 in 2 seconds to someone who doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. Hell, this video will do it in some circumstance,
Of course.
And I had to really learn, dude, as I was communicating with people, the things I say, if I say something to you, what I say and what you hear can be 2 totally different things. And oftentimes is. Yeah,
I was going to say most of the time, right? Because we're so trained to download what you say and put it right in real time of how it relates to us, right?
Yeah.
And
correct.
like that could be a drastic experience that's on this side of the spectrum compared to your experience, you know? It was very interesting when I first started consulting and got on a call with someone. The first call I had was around how they just got burnt by a consultant that they paid $50,000 for, right? Yeah. And it was so eye-opening because I was forced, based on how strong they came onto that conversation, I was forced to just stay curious, to just acquire, because the outcome was gone out of my mind, right? One of my first calls, and I'm getting lit up, and we don't even really know each other.
Put you in the same bucket.
And he put me in the same bucket.
Yeah.
But the cool thing was, this is he must have had a couple of these conversations, but I just absorbed it and removed the outcome of working with him. We ended up working with him.
yeah, which makes sense.
So it's funny to just understand that level of communication sometimes, and to realize, hey, not everybody receives the same way, and not everybody perceives the same way.
It's true.
And I can hear something. I mean, you know this. You can hear something 5 years ago, hear the same thing today, and your mind's blown, right? You're like, 100%. What just happened? My whole life just changed.
Yeah.
And it's just timing and perception and how the world works sometimes, right? So how do we show up and be the leader to most, but also understand that we can't affect most and all, right? Like we can try, but there's going to be that group of people or that person that just got burnt on $50K on a shitty consultant,
It's true. It happens, bro. We get it too. I just came
We've all
from
been
this
there.
company and they were blah, blah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'd even say that with, like, obviously we're speaking at this event. And I'd say that I remember that same thought process when I started speaking. I used to try to get my message and I wanted it to hit everyone.
Yep.
I wanted to get my message across. There's 200 people in the room. I want all 200 people to be impacted by the same message, and I had to learn that's never going to happen, So it's like the message hits the right people at the right time. And certainly you can do different points that hit this one hits 30, this one hits 50, this one hits whatever. There's some overlap, but when I stopped trying to hit everybody and just deliver what I believe in and things that have worked for me and give examples and give stories, it's like, there's always people that are ready to receive the message at that moment. There's always someone ready. It may not be everyone. It's not going to be everyone, actually. It's never going to be, but there's always someone, and I just, it's very interesting. This journey, dude, is learning how to play this game. And I'll be honest, part of leadership is, like, people always worry, like, I don't know what's next. And I don't know how to get to from point A to point B. And I'm like, cool. I've been from that point A to that point B. I can tell you my path. Maybe you can copy it. Should work for you. You know what I mean? Work for me. Here's my path. And people always look at me and others and they're like, man, you just got it so good. You know how to do everything. Da, da, da. And I'm like, I don't know how to get to the next level yet either, right?
Yeah.
Like, I actually have no idea how to get where I'm going either. So me helping others, I'm like, it's actually way more clear for me to tell you how to do it than for me to know what I'm supposed to do next. I just have a willingness to mess it up every day, dude. I don't give a rip.
I was going to say it's the reality behind, hey, this is a journey, and to remove that outcome, right? Go through it, test, learn, and adapt. I mean, it's if you don't try it, you don't test it, you never know what to do with it, how to enhance it, how to grow it, right? How to leverage it in a lot of cases, right? Maybe it's a word change in marketing or messaging, or maybe it's a conversation that you have that reflects that change. But that openness and willingness, I think, is where we turn off in a lot of cases, right? Like, last year, this conference, Impact Effect 23, like, most people told me I was crazy and nuts, right? And you've been in those situations,
I hear it every
but
day,
doing it and learning and growing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was all worth it. I'd do it over again. And those skills and those opportunities came from trying it and doing it, right? And
Yeah.
now we bring it back this year with more intentionality, better flow, and bringing people on a journey and an experience, and mixing in the concept of mastermind and networking and facilitation and workshop, and really make this unique experience. But that never would have been built, or I could have never created that if I didn't go through and take the leap or the risk last year, right? To learn and to grow. And there's always opportunity, I think, but I think that willingness and that openness, a level of vulnerability that aligns with courage, right? I mean, those are qualities where I'm like, that's a great leader. And mess it up, man. Just be honest about that shit. Like, I think that's where we go sideways sometimes,
100%.
and we've all hired the shitty consultant. Probably we've all, brought in a partner or done an event with someone or collaborated, and we learned some lessons from it, but we took the risk to do it. And, I think that's where the difference is. And I think a lot of the world we live in as entrepreneurs and business owners and partnerships and all of it is, hey, that person messed up, but are they honest about it? Because if you're building a relationship, if you're working with someone, if you're a partner, it's going to come to light, man. It always does, right? Like, you spend enough time with someone, a coach or a consultant, or, a marketing agency, or the owner and the founder, or the sales folks, or the operators, the fulfillment, you're going to realize what you bought, and you're going to realize that it's either good or it's either bad.
True.
Right. True. And the closer you get with people, the more honest you can see.
100%. 100%.
So I'm with you, man. Take those risks, baby. Yeah, let's go.
There's a lot of like, and I even teach my son Maddox this. He's 12 and he's a little baseball player. He's learning golf at the same time, but he's a good little baseball player. And he gets frustrated when he messes up. He's mainly played first base most of his career. He's a tall lefty. So they stick him at first. Yeah. Right. But he's like a baby giraffe. He's so big, he like can't control his body. You know what I mean? Like he has to grow into it. He has to, grow into his own body in a sense. So he's traditionally played first.
I've been there.
Yeah, same. He's about 5'8" now at 12. Wow. So he's a big kid, lanky, but he's a tall kid. And in the last couple seasons of baseball, he plays all year. So basically in the last 6 to 12 months, he's really started to fall in love with outfield. And as a kid, when he was super little, he would always, after practice, he would beg me to hit him fly balls. And we would stay after practice forever hitting him. I'm like, you play first base, dude. But he just wants to. So I'd do it. I just sit out there and hit him fly balls and hit him fly balls and hit him fly balls. Now all of a sudden he started falling in love with outfield, and he's becoming a killer pitcher. I mean, he's becoming a machine now that he's learned how to control some of his body. But he along the way gets really frustrated with mistakes. He's like in his head a perfection. He's like, I got to get it perfect. And I'm like, dude, you can't get it perfect if you don't mess it up a bunch. And trying to teach a 12-year-old the concept is very similar to trying to work with other adults who are trying to learn anything in business. And part of the book, which will be a preview of some of the talk, it's like the do more. I am a big fan of doing more to outwork people. I'm a big fan of that. Like outwork people. It's really easy to win because most people are simple to outwork. Yeah. But it does mean there is an acronym to do more, and there's like 6 principles I believe in. The M stands for mistakes. And I believe, and I teach Maddox this, that there's a lot of fruit. There's a lot of potential in mistakes that people don't take advantage of. Yep. And I think there's kind of 4 keys to it, in the sense that, one, I think you have to have a willingness to make mistakes. So I'm like, Maddox, you're going to go out there, dude. You're going to look like a goon sometimes. You're going to drop balls. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to trip over your feet. It's okay, dude. You have to have a willingness to mess up. I think if you don't have a willingness to mess up, you aren't ever going to take any risks, and you probably aren't going to learn anything. So I think having a willingness to make them is step 1. I think 2, owning that you made the mistake. You know, I don't let Maddox blame the umpire when he strikes out. He's like, it was outside, man, and it was a bad call. I'm like, I'm not going to argue whether it was a bad call or not. Remember the first 4 pitches that you didn't hit? You put yourself in a position to be called out from a bad call. Don't put yourself in that position, dude. You messed up. And maybe it wasn't on that play, but the one before that went right down the middle that you watched, like you put yourself in that spot. You know what I mean? So I teach them, like, own your mistakes. And I think getting feedback on mistakes from someone who's better, meaning, dude, listen to that. When the coach is telling you that, you know, in a game that's whatever the score is, or at this park or in this league or in this tournament, the strike zone's bigger. They're trying to get the clock going. The strike zone, you got to listen, dude. You thought it was a ball and it was a strike, but coach told you earlier. This guy calls him wide. This guy calls him high, low. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like learning from others who are better than you.
Yep.
You know, obviously, I'm sure you consult with people about running events. I can't imagine after last year you didn't talk to some people and get some feedback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I think the fourth one, and the one that people struggle with the most, if they've even made it to the first 3, which most don't, is then implementing the things that they were given for advice.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, so it's like, all right, Maddox gets me. I'm like, well, you better learn how to hit the outside pitch, bro. It's like, that's not my pitch. Well, you better make it. You better figure it out. Let's go get in the back cage.
Strikes. You're gonna have, or at least follow that bitch off. You know.
Yeah, correct. There's you don't have to hit a home run on it.
Yeah.
But don't watch it when it's that close and it's 2 strikes and it's, you know what I mean? Like, so it's, and we can apply those same principles in business. You know what I mean? Having the willingness, owning that you made the mistake, getting feedback on it, and implementing the things that you've been advised on, preferably from someone better than you, not your buddy who's going to complain about life with you. I don't want him going in the dugout talking to little Joey who's going to agree that it was a bad call. No, that ain't the play, bro.
Well, I think that in itself right there is a level of honesty, right? Is you don't want to commiserate. You don't want to lead yourself down that road. So you've got to eliminate it and create that boundary, right? Yeah. And I think that's hard too, right? And but it's a level of leadership for you to be able to show up for those folks that you're impacting. And I love sometimes your example with your son, man. You got me, you know, I'm a baseball guy, so I'm thinking back in the day, you know, like that outside pitch, and, you know, I played first and pitched and you know, grateful for my dad hitting those balls. So I'm sure your son's going to realize that, you know, one day. He may not right now, but he's going to be very grateful.
One day, bro.
You know, and that's leadership right there, right? And that's the best thing about this concept of leadership and impact effect. It doesn't need to be strictly applied to just business, to just a specific industry, real estate, insurance, lawn care, you know, whatever that is, roofing. All these industries, all these businesses have an impact from a leadership standpoint, but how do you take it home? How do you you know, lead with it in the house, in the friend groups, all those things. So I just appreciate you, John, and I appreciate, you know, your level of openness and, you know, someone who is living by the words that come out of your mouth. You know, it's great to just, you know, put someone on the impact effect stage that lives and breathes it, and is real on the stage, off the stage, when you're chatting with our attendees, folks, the night before, you know, event, the kickoff. I'm just excited, man. I'm excited to have you and excited to see where we can create the most impact next month.
I'm looking forward to it, dude. I'm excited. I've been DMing a few of the other speakers, been following them, learning about people, chat. I'm excited, dude. It's a different type of event for me, for sure. You know what I mean? I've usually stayed in my space. So for me, it's like we made a decision in the last year, like I'm going to get outside of the industry stuff only. Yeah. You know, and start to get involved in bigger groups and put myself in situations I ain't been in before either. You know, and
I think a lot of this translates, and it's almost like, you know, you've got to give it to the people, right? Like these concepts that you're talking about, this level of leadership, this focus, you know, openness, the vulnerability, asking for the help, implementing it, right? All those things, man, every business needs to hear that. So John, don't go in no caves just in insurance on us, man.
I'm breaking out, dude. My point is I've done that before, and I'm like, well, I know insurance. And I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I putting myself in a box? I did it to myself for sure, you know, and I put myself around other people, and I listen to a lot of people that think bigger. I always try to, you know,
Yep.
put myself in those situations. And I've seen so many other people that have had success in other industries, and they take it to a different level. And I'm like, all right, it's time to open this thing up a little bit and just impact a bigger audience. And you know what I mean? Because they are just principles, dude. And again, it's not like I invented any, but I can package it in a way that worked for me and tell my story and tell how I've helped other people win. And you know what I mean? One of the last things I learned that you just mentioned is learning to implement some of this stuff at home. Like, dude, it's crazy. I would get home and I'd be like, you know, I'd get mad about something. I'd lose my mind. And my wife is like, didn't you train on this from stage yesterday with agents and getting frustrated over sales? I'm like, yeah, what's that have to do with anything? She's like, you just got frustrated over Maddox, like spilling juice on, like, you lost your mind over something so small. And I'm like, oh my God. Or like having D's for discipline. It's like, do I have discipline in my family world and different things? You know what I mean? It's like, you can apply this stuff to life, you know? So for me, I'm like, all right, these are a lot of life lessons I can teach my kids with and teach myself things with. And I'm excited to expand this thing. And I'm definitely looking forward to the event. I'm excited. It's an intimate event. You know, it's not 10,000 people there, which is good.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing, you know?
Yeah. We're excited,
So
man.
I'm fired up about it.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. I know our time's ending here. I appreciate you being a part of this event, pouring into the folks and just being a disruptor in your level of leadership. You know, like the reality is, you know, speakers talking and coaching and helping and spending time with the attendees doesn't happen at all the events. And it's a specific speaker for Impact Effect 24. And there's just a ton of alignment with you. And I'm just grateful to have you, man. So brother. We're excited. If you're not going to be there next month, September 17th and 18th, grab your ticket. We've got some few remaining, and John will be there and 14 others. And all our speakers are excited to pour into you and have you critically think while you're here at the conference, right? We don't want notebooks full of stuff to go home with and not have a resource to walk over to John and say, John, tell me about this. And this is how I'm thinking of applying it. And what's your thoughts, right? Like, let's do the work in real time and, you know, help each other in a cohesive unit, right? We all win-win for everybody. So
let's do it.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you jumping on today, brother. And excited for next month. We'll see you soon.
Dig it. See you soon, bro. Appreciate you.